Interpretation of verse 61 of Surah Al-Imran. As Sati wrote, "Once upon a time, a delegation of Christians from Najran arrived at the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, who continued to stubbornly defend their erroneous views even after the Prophet gave them convincing evidence that Jesus was only a servant of Allah and his messenger. They understood the truth, but stubbornness and blind adherence to their vicious views prevented them from submitting to it. They continued to insist that Jesus was a god, and then Allah Almighty ordered the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, to invite them to invoke a curse on the liars. The Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, promised them bring his family and his sons, and invited them to come along with their families and sons in order to ask Allah Almighty to punish and curse the liars. The Christians conferred whether they should accept his proposal or not, and decided not to accept his proposal because they knew perfectly well that Muhammad was the real prophet of Allah. They also understood that to accept his offer meant dooming themselves, their children and their wives, and therefore they concluded a peace treaty with him, agreed to pay a poll tax, and asked him not to wage war against them. The Prophet agreed to such conditions and did not put any pressure on them because he achieved the desired result. The people understood the truth and became convinced of the stubbornness and unbelief of the Christians because they refused to invoke the curse of Allah on the liars and in fact admitted that they are unjust people. Interpretation of verse 77 of Surah Al-Imran. It is narrated from the words of Abdullah Mas'ud that the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said, "Whoever takes a false oath in order to appropriate the property of a Muslim, he will meet Allah with anger." And then Allah Almighty sent down the verse, "Verily, those who sell the covenant with Allah and their oaths for an insignificant price, there is no share in the hereafter." Then Al-Ash'ath came and said, "What is Abdullah Mas'ud telling you about? This verse was revealed concerning me. I had a well located on my cousin's land. One day he said to me, 'Bring your witnesses.' I replied, 'I have no witnesses.' He said, 'Then let him swear.' I said, 'O Messenger of Allah, he too can swear.' And then the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said these words, after which Allah revealed this verse in confirmation of this." This hadith was narrated by Ahmad, Al-Bukhari, Muslim, at-Tirmizi, Abu Dawud, and Nasai, Ibn Majah and others. It is reported that Abu Hurairah said that the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said, "Allah will not look at three on the day of resurrection and will not cleanse them, and painful sufferings are prepared for them. A person who had excess water by the road and who denied it to a traveler, and on the man who swears allegiance to the ruler only for the sake of worldly goods, who is pleased when the ruler gives him gifts and is indignant when he does not give him anything, and on a person who exposes his goods after the afternoon prayer and says, 'By Allah, besides whom there is no other deity, I paid so much for it,' and people believe him." Then he recited the verse, "Verily, those who sell their covenant with Allah and their oaths for an insignificant price have no share in the hereafter. Allah will not speak to them, will not look at them on the day of resurrection, and will not purify them. They are destined for painful suffering." This hadith was narrated by Ahmad, Al-Bukhari, Muslim, Abu Dawud, and Nasai, Ibn Majah and others.